Hey guys, Kev here, and I have a really cool review to do for you. This is the CMF Metalworks Print. This is a Reate OEM'd production knife that Ian over at CMF Metalworks is doing sort of in collaboration with SliceFK. Basically, SliceFK is going to be helping to sell these. But it's Ian's design. He actually designed this model specifically for production. So this is not a knife that you can get from Ian as a custom. If you're not aware, CMF Metalworks is Ian, and he is a custom knife maker. He's actually from my area here in Pennsylvania, which is cool. So we met up for lunch last week, and he actually was like, hey, dude, do you want to take this prototype and do a video or whatever? And I was like, hell yeah, I do, bro. So it was cool. We had lunch. We actually had lunch again today with some other people. And so I've had some time to talk to Ian and get to know him a little bit, and to talk to him about this knife specifically, which was really cool. I mean, a lot of times, you know, I get to check out prototypes and stuff, but it's not like over lunch where you can ask questions back and forth, and it's not over DMs or whatever, right? It just, it was a cool experience, and it was a good way to talk to a maker about stuff, you know? So, I am not super familiar with Ian's custom work. I heard about him because he's local, and I've seen his stuff, and it's gorgeous stuff. It's not necessarily my design language. If you guys know me pretty well, and if you've seen my designs, you know, I'm more of a sheep's foot, sort of angular type guy. Like, here's one of my, this is a prototype that we're not putting into production. We're working on a different version of it, but just to give you an idea, you know, sheep's footy blades, a little more angular style, where his stuff is more curvatured, more, you know, not necessarily Persian, but drop point. He does some tan toes. It's just a different style, right? And that's cool. I always enjoy trying different things and checking out different things, but for that reason, I wasn't super aware of his work before, you know, like 4 or 5 months ago, when some local buddies were like, hey, have you checked out this stuff? So anyway, this is a really cool model, and let's get into it. So there's 3 versions of it. I guess we should talk about that up front. I don't know the pre-order date. As soon as I do, I will put it down in the description and update this video. This video may come out without us actually knowing the pre-order date, so it is what it is. I get an early look at it, which is really cool. But we just don't have like a ton of detail on the actual pre-order. I know it'll be on SliceFK's website. And I know they're going to be, I believe, $395. There's 3 different versions. There's this version, which is a bolster lock design with a hand satin, and I believe it's going to be marbled carbon fiber instead of this checkered. And then there's, I believe, a liner lock version and a frame lock version. All 3 versions will be the same price, $395. He's doing that specifically so there's no, like, you know, weirdness with what people order and whatever. You just pick the one you like and you order it. They all cost the same. Now, this one has the hand satin. I think the other ones will have different finishes. You know, you might get a raw tie. He did say he wanted to make this design moddable. Like, he wanted it so people could customize it however they like. So, like, the pivot and the body screws, they are standard sizes, so you could, you know, get stuff off of like tie connector or whatever and kind of make, you know, do your own thing. You know, just bead blasted finishes so you can anodize it, you know, stuff like that. There are a few changes to this that we'll go over. I'll try to hit them all. I'm not going to be able to remember everything, and you guys know me, I don't write anything down, but I had a good conversation with Ian about it, and I think I can nail down most of it. So yeah, aesthetically, I really like the design. I've always liked a sort of bulbous sort of drop point, so like this portion being taller and then kind of sloping down. And what I mean is, like, the Griptilian or the Ritter Hogue, the you know, the Benchmade Super Freak. They kind of have that blade shape design. To me, I always equate blade shapes and knives with animals, and it kind of has that lizard look, right? It kind of has that lizardy look, you know, the studs or the eyeballs and whatever. So I really dig that. I like how it comes down to a drop point like that, so it's still usable for me. And it's just kind of classic, right? Now, normally I'm not into the thin, swoopy handles. You won't see a lot of that in my collection. I'm just not. It usually equates to, like, the ergos are fine, but it usually equates to it being tough on lefties. Because if it's a frame lock or whatever, and then you have to kind of be tight with the studs, and you have to be all close to the frame, and it's just not my preferred style. Is there anything wrong with it? No, just, you know. But I do love the aesthetic of this knife. I think it's a gorgeous piece. I think it's a great size as well. I'd venture to guess the blade is about 3 1/4 inches. We can grab a couple of things to compare. Here is the Maverick S from Matt Christensen. I'll put some comparables out. You know, similar stuff Reate made. In the same ballpark kind of stuff. This is the Sharp by Design Mini Tempest. So that is a great size comparison. I'd say the Mini Tempest is a little bit longer in the blade. We know this is a 3 1/2 inch blade, so you're probably looking at, like I said, 3.3, 3.4 on the print. We have the Brian Brown Knives Jaeger M. Let's see size-wise how that guy looks compared. Yeah, they're basically identical in size. So you're probably, again, looking at a 3.4 inch blade, something like that. So that'll give you the idea and the size. The ergonomics for me are very comfortable. Now you can hold it in this back grip, and from talking to Ian, he actually thinks this is where you should hold the knife. He doesn't expect anybody to use this as a choil. Now, my instinct is to use this as a choil. That is right where I'm going to go. I'm just a choil guy, and that's what I do. Like, for instance, here's another knife with a sort of, you know, you got this area right here, and I'm always going to go choke. I'm never going to hold a knife, like, back in that situation, you know what I mean? So, for me, if I have a flat like that or an area, I'm going to use it, and this is really comfortable. Now, of course, you know, you're right up on that edge, so that's probably why he doesn't think you should use it, but I really enjoy it. And then you climb up here, you get good control. The pinch grip is pretty good. You get up into this. You have a swedge up here. It's not as thin as, like, on the Maverick S. It's honestly one of the negatives on this knife. It's probably, like, the only negative on this knife is this is super thin because of the swedge, right? So if you put any pressure down up here, it does kind of hurt a little bit. It's going to get uncomfortable, right? This isn't to that level, right? It's not that crazy, so it's still pretty comfortable up here. Now, if you're holding it back here, you're going to land right here on this little pad of jimping. The jimping is not aggressive at all. It's pretty smooth. One of my suggestions to him was to just get rid of the jimping or extend it and make it more aggressive, but he likes it the way it is, and that's fair. If you hold it like this, yeah, it kind of works, but it just is what it is. It's an aesthetic thing as well, right? But I think the ergos are good on this knife. It's thin, but not too thin. I have a large glove-sized hand. I can grip it really easily. You can hold it in basically any grip you want, and it's fine. This is a little bit uncomfortable because of the swell, but this is very comfortable. So, yeah, the ergos are good. The cutting. So, I didn't do really any cutting with this. It's a prototype. It's a hand satin. Just not something I'm going to go crazy with. But I, cut some paper, some basic shit, and it's Reate, right? So, I mean, basically what you can expect from this Mini Tempest right here, you could essentially expect from this knife over here. If anything, this one's a little thinner. Now, one of the changes is that it is going to be a hollow grind, which is one of the things I said immediately was like, dude, a hollow grind would be so sick on this. They're doing a hollow grind. So I've actually handled a few of his customs because he brought some to the lunches, and his hollow grinds are sick. So it's going to be pretty cool. And who doesn't want a hollow grind on a knife like this, right? You know, so I think that's going to be a great change. But yeah, the cutting, you know, it's M390. It's going to cut well. It's going to perform. It's going to do your EDC tasks. You're not going to chop trees down with it. It's a $400 knife with a hand satin, right? Carry. So the carry's really good. It has hidden hardware on the clip. You don't have super deep carry, but you got plenty, you know, plenty of it in your pocket. You get a little bit sticking out, nothing crazy. The clip works really well, in my opinion, in and out of the pocket. Had no issues. The weight's really good. One of the other changes is on, I believe, the full tie frame lock. I don't know about the liner lock. They're adding some weight relief on that one, so it'll be a little bit lighter weight, because I did get to handle the frame lock proto for a second, and it had a little bit of weight to it, so I think it'll be good to lighten that out. This one's great. The weight on this is literally perfect, and that's, you know, you get a lot of weight relief because of the carbon fiber and everything. So the carry's good. I mean, the profile is excellent. Now, one thing that did happen is I did have an Emerson deploy on me because of these hourglass thumb studs. Now, before you know, take that to heart or whatever, just let me finish this. These were studs. He actually made a prototype of the knife. So he custom made this knife, and then he, I believe, sent it to Reate, and then they recreated it as a production knife. And he used the studs that he usually uses, which are these sort of hourglass studs. Well, whatever version of them Reate made or found or whatever, Ian does not like them. He does not like these studs. I don't really like them either. And so you're going to have essentially studs more like this, right? They're not going to be zircuti, but they're going to have this kind of ridge on there. They're pretty standard. Like, they were on the Berg Blades Barber. I think they were on the Lucas P from Wear Knives. So it's kind of a standard thumb stud that Reate uses, and they're really good. So that's going to be a welcome sight on here, because they're going to sit a little bit lower. You're not going to have that Emerson issue where it could come out of your pocket and open up. It was funny. I was actually at lunch pulling it out to show him, like, hey, I got the knife in my back pocket, and it came out like that. And I was like, oh, shit. And he's like, yeah, that's why we're changing the studs. I've also struggled to deploy the knife a little bit. I think because of the studs, I've, like, slipped over a lot. And I don't know if it's partially me putting pressure on the lock bar over here, because right-hand thumb flick is not my specialty. I don't know, but I think the new studs are going to be a welcome addition, and that'll take care of a lot of this stuff. A lot of things. I think it's going to be great. So, anyway, that's carry. Kind of sounds. Yeah, the sounds are good. I mean, it's carbon fiber bolster lock, carbon fiber scales, titanium bolster lock, titanium clip, M390. I think the hollow grind might add some acoustics. You know, I think it's a good sounding knife. I don't think it's like, you know, some amazing, you know, it doesn't ting like everybody wants knives to do. But it's good, right? I'd give it a, you know, 6 or 7 out of 10 on sounds, which to me, anything over 5 is good. You just don't want it to be not good. You know what I mean? When it comes to sounds. All right. So action / fidget factor on this guy. It's good. It's definitely good. So it fires out with authority. It's got a great detent, swings down, and essentially just glides shut. You can reverse flick it easy. You just get under the stud, flick it. Again, that detent is crisp. One of the better thumb stud detents I've felt from Reate. Left-handed, again, you have your option of a liner lock or a bolster lock or a frame lock. If you're left-handed, I highly suggest you get the liner lock or the bolster lock. I'd probably say liner lock first, then bolster lock, because you can still cause issues with the lock bar with the bolster lock. But I love a bolster lock, so I'd probably go with that anyway, personally. But yeah, the action's really good, and then, you know, it swings down. There's no play at all. It's dead centered, you know, and it just swings down. It's very fun to fidget around with and play with. You can have a ball of a time with this guy. So that's cool. All right, so let's talk about the changes, and then we'll wrap it up, all right? So, again, we talked about the thumb studs. They are going to be different. We talked about the blade. So you're going to have this hand satin, but it's going to be a hollow grind, which is really cool. You are going to have this corner right here knocked off. So right now, that's a sharp corner. This tends to be a thing with Reate and Bolster locks. They always make that sharp. You just got to ask them to chamfer that. The backspacer is going to be changed to a solid backspacer. So the way this is set up, there's like washers in there, and it has to be basically perfect. And for a production knife, it's just a safer bet for them to go solid. So they're going to change this to a solid backspacer, and it's going to be the same as the material of the scales. So in this case, it would be a checkered carbon fiber, which again, I think this is going to be marbled in production. But then there's also going to be, I think, micarta liner lock and then titanium frame lock, so it'll match, right? I think he might have said something about a change on the clip. I'm not sure what it was, though. Maybe I'm missing. Maybe I'm just, yeah. There's going to be the internal milling on the frame lock. We talked about the studs, jimping staying the same. Oh, one other thing I wanted to note, if you watch this, Ian, is this corner right here. So this edge, right, it's flush with the scale, but if I drag my finger like this, I can catch that, and it is sharp. That top portion of the tang, or whatever you want to call it, right there is sharp. Now, when the knife is open, you know, you're not touching it, so it's not really an issue. But I'm just saying, if you want like little feedback stuff, I would totally ask them to knock that down, because it's a sharp corner. And I've seen that on a few of their knives, like the Osprey EDX from Oaks Works. But right there, you see that? It's kind of sharp. I would just have them chamfer that out. But yeah, I think that's everything. If I missed anything, I'm sure he's going to update you on his Instagram, on the Slice website. You'll be able to see all the information. Here's a quick look at the knife. It's just gorgeous. I mean, he did a great job with this design. It's very, I don't want to say simplistic, because it's not, but it just has a refined design to it. You can tell he's been designing knives for a long time, and he thinks about everything that goes into it and really kind of tones it down as much as he can. And I really appreciate that, because I'm kind of the opposite. I just throw it together and then kind of, you know, figure it out from there. So yeah, that's the blade right there. Here's the handle. Just gorgeous. It's a really, really cool design. You can see it says prototype in there. The transitions, of course, it's Reate, are seamless. You got T9s on the body screws, he told me. You have a hidden screw on the insert. I really like that. Yeah, I think that's everything that I wanted to tell you guys about it, and all the changes and everything. I really appreciate Ian for letting me check this out. Actually, I think it was his friend. He got a few prototypes, and I think a couple of them were like friends who bought them or whatever. I don't know how it worked, but thank you to whoever you are for letting me check out your personal prototype here. That's very kind of you. Ian, he's a great dude. Again, I've met him a couple of times now. I can tell he's very particular. So are a lot of makers. A lot of makers are like that. They're very particular people. They're very detailed. They see the little things that you wouldn't necessarily, or I wouldn't necessarily see. And it's really cool to just see that in action, you know. So thank you, Ian. Much appreciated. I wish you the best of luck with this project. As soon as I know a date, or I can let you guys know, I will. Because I think this is going to be a very popular model. So that is the CMF Metalworks Print prototype from Reate that will be sold through SliceFK. So thank you guys. I love you all. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will catch you later.